Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Yoga Happiness Podcast. I'm Burgundy Michelli. Today we're talking to Dr. Paul Granello and his graduate assistant, Tyler Hudson. I met with them in Dr. Granello's Worthington office. He is a mental health counselor, wellness coach. His specialties are in depression and anxiety. He is also a professor at Ohio State teaching a wellness program that we do discuss in the podcast. So let's get straight to it, and I hope you enjoy the gamut of topics that we actually touched upon. I want to step way back first, and the question of how you even got into this,
right?
And I mean, so in looking at the website, some of the breathing techniques you use, I mean, all of these words that are popping out to me, I know from yoga.
Right.
Do you have a yoga background?
No.
Fascinating.
Although I've taken yoga.
Yeah. So that's interesting. I like the square breathing. So all the breathing techniques that you're talking about. I mean, those are the alternate nostril breathing.
Yeah.
You know, and I like the fact that. That I didn't see anything related to yoga, obviously. I mean, you're coming to it from a sort of a different angle, obviously. One of the challenges, one of the things that my focus is to sort of sneak yoga in to people who are afraid of it for whatever reason, because you've got this idea of skinny white girls making themselves into pretzels, or you can't possibly be a guy, or you can't possibly be overweight.
Along those lines, I do a group called a step group, and it'll be on Tuesdays. It's at a fixed time that I can't change, so
Okay.
I can email you the date.
Yeah.
But it's sophomores at OSU. They're the perfect people to get involved in yoga because they're stressed out and whatever.
Yeah.
And I'll invite you to come one week if you want.
That'd be great.
And do something with the group.
Yeah.
And, because I'm all about trying to talk to them about stress and coping and doing well.
Stress is a killer.
Yeah.
Stress is, I think, not talked about. Not talked about in the right way.
Yeah.
Everybody says, I'm stressed out. And then I think that, stress presents itself differently in many different people.
Yeah.
And it's truly unfortunate that maybe a lot of people have the mindset that, well, stress is just one of those things that you just accept and you live with.
Yeah.
And you don't try to do anything about it.
Right.
And then finally, when you can
Yeah.
work on it, you realize how heavy it's been on your body and your mind.
Yeah. And young people today are very anxious. The number one diagnosis at OSU is anxiety-related problems. It used to be depression a decade ago.
Yeah.
And now anxiety is number one. And we have more people going to counseling now than ever before and doing more sessions than ever before. Last year, I believe we did somewhere around 40,000 sessions.
Wow. Do you know on average, I guess maybe, how many students would that be, and then how many times are they coming, like how many sessions would each student have?
The average person, they can come up to 13 times for free because it's covered under their student fees.
Is that through their whole life at OSU or for 1 year?
Over there.
Okay.
I think it's a year, each year.
Oh, okay, that's great.
And but if they need more than that, they have student health insurance that kicks in.
Okay.
And then it's a paid. They have to do a copay, but it's cheap.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
But
That's
a lot of people, after, they don't need more than 13 sessions actually, but if they do, then they get referred to community providers.
Okay.
Because they'd rather go to, if they're going to pay a copay or they'd rather go see somebody off campus.
The jumping right into a tough subject. So suicide is not talked about enough at Ohio State. We hear about like the few kids that have jumped off of the parking garages, but that's just what we hear about. Do you know of the actual numbers?
Yes, I do.
They're much more than we know.
Suicide is always underreported.
Because who wants to talk about that? It's not good for marketing for Ohio State.
it's not good for anybody to talk about it, really. And depending upon how the media talks about it, it could be good or bad.
Right.
Because you can have contagion. You
Yes.
can have copycat suicides.
Yes.
So my wife runs the suicide prevention program at OSU, and they work miracles with the money that they are given.
That's awesome.
And they've trained, 15,000 people to be gatekeepers at OSU. They have an anonymous online screening for graduate students. They do a program called Are You OK Day. They do, after the last suicide, we had volunteers put up 7,000 flyers on campus
That's
about
great.
that said, you matter, and these are the numbers to call and things to do.
Wow.
They have a staff of 30 volunteer people who go around and do trainings and do talks, suicide prevention. So the issue with me with OSU and suicide is I think that from day one of orientation, students should be given a mental health or a mental wellness packet. And in that packet, it should have resources and things all laid out for them. Now, we do produce a file folder. It's red and white, and I don't have one with me, but it has all the emergency numbers, it has all that. The provost office does distribute that to all the faculty. So there's 8,000 faculty. You have to remember there's 100,000 people on that campus.
And that's just the Columbus campus.
Yes. So when you look at the rates of suicide on our campus, we actually fall right in the middle nationally.
Okay.
And so when you look at college suicide, it's on the rise. High school suicide's on the rise. Adolescent suicide is on the rise, especially adolescent girls.
Yeah.
And the real issue is getting people to, when they think someone is at risk, to intervene with them and to say, are you okay? What's going on? Are you all right? And not to take the first I'm fine for an answer, and to be a little what I call gently persistent, which is, are you sure? You lean in a little bit and ask. And not to be a therapist for that person, but to link them to appropriate resources. OSU is a resource-rich environment. The student services are exceptional. There's all kinds of help available to students, but they have to know how to get it and have to be willing to use it.
Yeah.
And that's the real issue around mental health, is the stigma that prevents people from getting help.
Which is truly unfortunate. I mean, mental health, the discussions that I have with people, and the way that we're trying to open up talking about mental health is, what's the difference between breaking your leg? I mean, as far as like how to talk about it. I mean, you should not be embarrassed. You shouldn't be ashamed.
Right. But what I've had a professor tell me, well, I knew so-and-so was really bad shape. This is before a student had an attempt. And I should have talked to them or whatever, but I didn't want to, get in their business or whatever. I said, wow, okay, if a student came in and they had a wound on their leg, let's say they tripped and needed stitches and they're bleeding, you wouldn't say anything about that? Right. Or would you say, oh, why are you in class? Go get that handled, or whatever. The same thing with this. Mm-hmm. But people, we have a history in Western culture in Eastern culture too, but in Western culture of individuality and not minding your own business and not getting involved with people. And also I think people are afraid, and I don't think this, I know this, people are afraid that they're going to say the wrong thing. They're somehow going to make the person worse.
Yeah. Or
put the idea in their head, Let me tell you, by the time you realize that somebody is that depressed or upset or whatever, they don't need, right. So I've spent 18 years running around the world, running around the country, running around the state, trying to educate people about suicide prevention. So it's a personal
Yeah.
thing. So
is it important to you because of your training,
my
or have
brother
you had a
completed
personal experience?
suicide in 1999.
So it's interesting the way that you phrase that, completed suicide.
Yeah, that's the right term. You say completed suicide or suicide death. You don't say committed suicide anymore, because the people in the survivor community, the people who are left behind after someone completes suicide, think that commit implies a sinful thing, like people commit adultery or whatever, as though it's sort of a purposeful thing instead of the result of a mental illness or the result of, because 90% of people who complete suicide have an underlying mental health problem. It's usually depression or anxiety.
That's an interesting distinction. I hadn't heard that.
Yeah. So you'll hear in the literature, you'll hear suicide death, right? Or completed suicide.
Interesting. And so then so your work with the Wellness Center and the Smart Lab and the Mindfulness, is this specifically geared towards sort of
At-risk folks?
Yeah.
No.
Okay.
It is, the Smart Lab is open to any OSU student that wants to come.
And it's students only, though.
It's students only right now, and faculty that participate in our class. Yeah, so right now it's only for students. If I had my way, I had more resources, then we probably would open it in the evenings, probably, for the community.
So what's the idea behind even starting that?
Prevention. See, we're horrible at prevention in this country, right?
Yeah.
We wait till people get chronically ill. Over 40, I don't know what it is, % of adult American people have a chronic illness in their life. And we wait till people get sick, and then we treat them with highly skilled people, which is great. We have the best doctors and nurses and nurse practitioners and rehab people and everything in the world, and high technology. So instead of, like in Great Britain, they send a home health care nurse, because Great Britain is nationalized insurance. They send a home health care nurse out for every pregnant woman, and their rate of premature babies is much lower. We wait till somebody has a premature baby, and then we treat them, and it costs $300,000 or $500,000. Now we have the best technology and the best people and the best everything, and but we do it backwards, you know. I mean, if we really wanted to help people be well, we would do the prevention services. We wouldn't do the acute care services. But our whole medical model traditionally has been about acute care. It's really not been about prevention.
Right.
So we spend 7 trillion dollars a year on healthcare in this country. 1%, about 1% on prevention.
That's unfortunate.
So it's not right?
Yeah.
So when I started 20 years ago talking about wellness, teaching a wellness course and doing this stuff, people used to think I was out on the moon. You know? I mean, they thought I was really weird. That's weird stuff, you know. And in my wellness class, I've always included spirituality, and I've included things, you know, that some of my colleagues would say, oh, this is a public university. You're not allowed to teach that in a class, or, you know, as though human beings don't have a spiritual aspect to their,
whatever it may be,
to their life. Right. And so, you know, as though meaning and purpose were something that we couldn't talk about, you know, somehow. Well, one of the good things about being in counseling is that anything that is part of the human condition, I can include in the curriculum, right? Because we're really dealing with everything.
Yeah.
And so that's when but wellness, I mean, are you recording?
Yeah.
Okay, good. But
I've been recording
I
since
don't know
11.
if you want to edit.
Nope.
But you asked about how I got involved in this. I could riff on about whatever you asked me. But no, I was influenced. I was always interested in health. I ran cross country in college, and was very into eating healthy and all that kind of stuff. And in my last 2 years of college, my first 2 years of college, I pretty much wasted by drinking and carrying on until I grew up a little bit.
Yeah.
And then I did my master's degree at Stetson University, and I had a professor there, Mark Young. And he just retired from University of Central Florida, actually. He was at Stetson University, then he moved to UCF. But he practices meditation and body yoga and, body interventions and that kind of thing. And I kind of got quasi-interested in that. So when it was time for me to go do my doctoral degree, I sat down with Mark and I said, "What should I do?" And he said, "What do you interested in?" And whatever. And he said, "Well, if you're interested in wellness, go to a higher university in Athens, and there's a guy in the counseling department there. His name is Mel Whitmer." So I arrived there and immediately was taken under. Mel is just an amazing person, and he'll be 89 this year. He lives in Hilton Head, South Carolina.
Nice.
So he must have done something right.
Yeah.
Right? It's one of the most well towns in the U.S. Naples, by the way, Naples, Florida, is rated as the #1 well town in the U.S.
Really?
Yeah. Well, it's all super rich people who can afford
No.
whatever.
Personal trainers and
Yeah, and it's on the water, and
Yeah.
it's gorgeous, and
yeah.
so, and so anyway, Mel developed a model in counseling called the lifespan model, and it's a wellness model, and he taught a class back in the 1970s about stress management. And in the 1980s, that class became stress management and wellness. And in the 1990s, that class just became wellness. And so he kind of first started doing stress research and ended up looking at a bigger picture than just stress, because everything is related to
Sure.
everything
Oh,
else,
yeah.
right?
Absolutely.
So when I finished my work at OU, I came up to Columbus. Darcy and I, my wife's also a professor at OSU, so she got the job in counseling here at OSU, and then the following year I got hired in the same department, which never happens.
Yeah, that's rare.
Yeah, it's really
Nice.
awesome.
Yeah.
So, and there was a class with a very vague title. It was called Advanced Interventions.
Oh.
Yeah.
What kind of interventions?
Yeah. So when I took it over, 9/26/03, when I took that class over, I said, this is going to be my wellness class. So I made a class and I called it Wellness, and I've been doing that for 20 years, and for graduate students in counseling, and it's evolved over time. It's much less a lecture class and much more an activity class now,
Okay.
because technology has allowed us to push the readings and all that stuff and lecture stuff out on the web. Students can read that whatever before class, and so we can use in-class time to actually try some
Do
things
stuff.
on. Yeah.
So then is the class, is it part of a curriculum on like their path to a degree, or is this wellness
Yes.
for them?
No, it's counts as a class.
Okay.
It counts as a clinical counseling class for their licensure as professional counselors in Ohio. So it's
Nice.
part of the curriculum,
Okay.
and it's called Wellness and Prevention now, or whatever. So it's a great class. And in 2007 or something, I was using for a long time like a course packet of just like articles I put together and stuff, and I'd have it bound, and that students would just buy that or just for the readings. So eventually I said, yeah, we ought to have a wellness textbook. So I wrote a book called Wellness Counseling with Pearson Publishers, and it didn't sell very well.
Okay.
Our students use it at OSU, but not very many programs have really counseling programs, even though we got wellness added to as an area of the KCREP standards, of the standards that are for certification of counseling graduate programs. And so wellness is supposed to be included in the student's experience in the curriculum. But most programs say they just sort of infuse it. They don't have a separate course. So if there's really, in textbook world, if you don't have a separate course, people don't buy a book. But it's a wonderful book. If you ever want a copy, I'll give it to you.
Sure.
But the real book you should have was the sort of sequel to that book, which was called Wellness: Achieving a Healthy Lifestyle. And that came out in 2013.
You wrote that.
Yeah. And that book was not for counselors. That book was for undergrad students. Because I think every student who comes to OSU should have a wellness plan.
Yeah.
Just like they have an academic curriculum, they should have a wellness plan. And so really what we do in the online class now with undergrads, we have about 600 students a year take that class, is they have to set wellness goals. And they develop 3 wellness goals that they're going to do in the class. And we actually track them
Wow.
throughout the semester.
What's an example of a wellness goal?
Oh, wow. We've had people lose weight. We've had people quit smoking. We've had people reduce their alcohol intake. We've had people do spiritual work. We've had people do nutrition stuff. Anything that has to do, well, in the wellness model that I have, there's 7 domains.
Okay.
And please don't ask me what they are right now. But there's spirituality, nutrition, physical activity, creativity, intellectual stimulation, social relationships, environmental issues that come into play. How many is that? I don't remember. I feel like I'm missing some. But anyway, the idea is that in these domains of wellness, they can set goals related to any one of those domains that they want to. And then we track them over the course of the semester and their progress and how they're doing and that kind of stuff.
That's wonderful.
So, yeah. So we've had quite a number of, I would say 90% of the students who take that class get something personally worthwhile about their lifestyle, you know. And I think we could call the class Wellness and Habit Change or something, because it's really getting people to stick with. That's the real issue in wellness, you know,
Yeah.
is people.
It's a lifestyle change.
Yes, people know that they need to make changes intellectually. But like, let's look at exercise, for example. 80% of the people who start an exercise program drop out after 3 months. That's why gyms know they can oversell in January, because they know by March none of those people are coming anyway.
Yeah.
So they can sell you a year membership and know that you're not coming. So
I've had like 7 gym memberships.
yeah,
But yeah, it's challenging for people, and from what I've experienced with my own students, the lifestyle change is hard because it's almost like a 12-step program. You have to admit that there's something wrong with what you're currently doing. And then trying to build this new thing you realize it's almost a domino effect. Okay, like for example, when my boyfriend stopped smoking, he's like, well, if I stop smoking, that means I have to stop waking up. I have to stop going to the bathroom and eating and all of these things, because they were all tied to smoking.
right.
It's a whole, like everything changes.
There's a lot of ripple effects when people change a habit.
Yeah.
So the holy grail of wellness counseling or exercise or whatever is adherence, is getting people to stick with it.
Yeah.
That's the real thing. I can get people to make changes in counseling, but behavioral change requires practice.
Yep.
And a lot of people would rather just pop a pill or microwave a dinner or do what's easy rather than do what produces lasting change.
Yep.
So anything that is worthwhile, in terms of lifestyle, takes effort and practice. And, now, after about 60 to 90 days, if somebody practices something, it becomes more of a habit for them, such that they're going to start saying things like, well, I miss it when I don't go to the gym, or I miss it when I don't do my yoga, or and so it becomes part of who they are, as opposed to something they're doing separate from themselves. So that's the real key. The real key to this is, how do we get people to actively practice?
Yeah.
That's the key. And for them to see the benefits, and for them to inculcate this as part of their identity, so.
And it is personal. I mean, it's different for every single person. It needs to be important to them for their reasons.
Right. And so Mel was a huge influence on me, and I did my dissertation on wellness and social relationships for people. And there's a big influence. When we look at heart disease, only about 43% of the variance has to do with health habits and genetics.
Right.
Most of it has to do with lifestyle choices and social support.
So, like the blue zones, is that what they're called? Those zones in the world where people are living forever.
Where they're more
happy.
centenarians, genetically, we can probably live 120 years.
Mm-hmm. That's what I'm shooting for.
Yeah, if you have the good genes. Because when your cells replicate in your body, like your whole body replaces itself, right?
Yep.
And so when your cells replicate, they don't replicate perfectly. There are mutations. The DNA doesn't copy perfectly. So that's why we age, So we could probably live about 120 years max right now, unless we get some science that improves that process or something. So so our average lifespan in this country now for men is what, 83? Something like that.
Is that on the rise?
Yeah, people live longer now than they used to live. And that is because of better hygiene, better nutrition, better medical care. But it really, if you have good genes, you might be able to get away with a bad habit.
We won't tell people that.
Yeah, for a while.
Yeah.
And it depends how bad of a habit.
Yeah.
If you have bad genes and you do the bad health habits, you're really asking for it. You will almost guaranteed get cancer, heart disease, high blood pressure, and you're really asking for it. So genetics comes into it somewhat. Obviously, engaging in good health behaviors is part of it, and the rest of it has to do with social relationships and the quality of relationships that people have. That's kind of social support they have and their social network.
Do you talk about my own social network? So then that leads me to the internet. So does any part of your wellness class have anything to do with the internet and all of our Facebook friends that we don't ever see, and our lack of actual human contact?
Yeah, well, it's bad for people. I mean, the research has just come out now, especially I'm interested in adolescent girls because that sounds bad.
That ran through my head.
Research-wise, I'm interested in adolescent girls because the suicide rate is going up very alarmingly fast.
I mean, it sucked to be a little girl when I was a kid and there was no internet.
Yeah.
I'm 42. At the time, the worst fear for me was falling out of a tree.
Yeah. But
I can't imagine.
Now there's tremendous pressure to be on social media. If you're not on social media, then they feel anxious because their peers
they're missing something.
Right, are talking about them or actually ostracizing them because they're not participating. But the research now has shown a link between Facebook time and depression and anxiety in adolescent girls.
Wow.
So there's the correlation is a positive correlation. The more time you spend, the more time adolescent girls spend on social media, the more likely they are to have mental health problems. So, I mean, come on. And so I don't think that by the time I get graduate students, it's a little late in that department. But I do try to talk to them about what they need to talk to their clients about. And we need to start with kids in elementary school.
Yeah.
And because young kids have phones, 10, 11 years old, and about critical viewing skills and how to know what's crap and how to know what's not and how to judge the source of things on the internet and how to the difference between virtual experiences and real experiences and all that kind of thing. And I think technology has wonderful benefits, like any technology. It can have wonderful benefits, but also if the technology is not used properly or policed properly, then there's problems. Then there's ethical, legal, and other problems that are going to come about. Particularly social media is the issue, and we really need to educate young people early about these kinds of things. But
I think we could all value from getting better educated about the ramifications of that. I mean, people my own age, I feel are, they may not say it out loud, but the fact that you only put the good things that happened in your day, the beautiful food that you ate, and the wonderful places that you went, but you don't ever put the crappy stuff that happens to you online. Nobody wants to read about that anyway, right?
Yeah.
So.
But some research indicates that young people always think that the next age up it's real, right?
Yeah.
So you look at middle school girls, they are interested in high school stuff, and they think that, oh yeah, in our world that's not real or whatever. But for those high school girls, oh, that's what it's like. It's really great. And high school girls look at college age people and they say, oh, our life at high school, it's not like that. It's never. But for college people, oh yeah, that's ideal. It's great. It's wonderful. Wait till I get to college. It'll be awesome. And so, and young people don't judge. Social media is addictive for young people because young people are not good at judging the quality of relationships.
Right.
When they think about popularity or they think about what's good in social world, they think if one friendship is good, two is twice as good. So 500 must be really
amazing,
great.
And I know
Right.
so much about all 500 of
Yeah.
those people.
So the older people, on the other hand, who have had some life experience and have been burned maybe by a friend or by somebody or a boyfriend or somebody, they start to learn that no, it's not the number of relationships, but the kind and quality of relationships that matter.
Yeah. Quality over quantity.
Yeah.
It's been a saying for a long time for a reason.
Yeah. I did some research where I asked young people, how many of your friends could you borrow $10 from? Would you borrow money from? $10. Not a lot of money, but they said, everybody. I could borrow pizza money from anybody. I could ask everybody. When I asked older people that question,
Yeah.
they came back with questions. They said, is this a family member? What are the strings attached?
Do I have to pay them back?
Is this a loan? Is this a gift?
Yeah.
You know, they were asking, so not everybody they would borrow money from,
Yeah.
you know, only certain people.
Yeah.
So they're much more, hopefully, as people age, they become more astute about their social relationships and ask more mature questions about quality versus quantity. But social media is just all about how many people are on there, and so
Yeah.
how many people like your stuff. So
Yeah.
you know, it's really addictive for adolescents.
Yes. Yeah.
Fits developmentally, you know, into a developmental need they have. So
Tyler, how did you get into all this?
My advisor at Ohio State runs this college training wellness counselors how to practice. That's him, Paul.
I see.
Yeah.
Some guy.
Yeah, some guy. I know. No, I think I experienced firsthand, you know, a classic example of burnout, and realized that kind of a more holistic approach to life was where health and happiness was, and then came to OSU, and truly was introduced to it by Dr. Paul, and then have seen, you know, the benefits firsthand in our veteran group that we run, or it's kind of a go-to treatment approach, or something that I would include in all of my treatment plans with clients now too. Of so what does it mean for you to be well, and how we're going to incorporate this wellness model into your life so that you don't come back to see me, you know,
Yeah.
in 2 months or a year or two, and that's fine if you have to come back for a checkup or something, but I'd love for them to leave, you know, with decreased symptoms, but also a new approach to life that kind of is optimal for their health and well-being, you know, by integrating mind, body, and spirit so they can live, you know, more fully. I think that's Mel Whitmer's definition of wellness is, you know, achieving optimal health and well-being by the intentional choosing, which is what it is. So we can show people what it looks like and tell them why it's good, but that is the key, as Dr. Paul mentioned, to get the maintenance, you know.
So
personal and professional, I suppose. Yeah.
yeah. So it's interesting, the phrase that you just said, you know, showing people what it's like. Do you find that people don't know what wellness looks like?
Yes, I do find that. I think you'd say the same thing. I think sometimes people would look at if we teach a breathing technique, or if we teach progressive muscle relaxation, or even cognitive therapy, you know, which is emphasizes the way that we think and our thought patterns and our automatic thoughts and underlying assumptions and, you know, core beliefs that we operate out of. I think people will often look at those things and view them skeptically, as though that seems a little simplistic or a little, you know, reductionistic. But there's phenomenal research on those things. There's great research on wellness. There's you know, research on the efficacy of CBT, cognitive behavioral therapy. That's the gold standard of treatment for anxiety and depression, which leads me to believe that there's a real observable link between, you know, how we think and how we behave, and how we feel in terms of our mental health, and, you know, in the physical domain too. There's clear research that supports those habits or the lack thereof, and, you know, like Dr. Paul mentioned, the numerous, you know, diseases that, you know, you can get by making or not making really intentional decisions that have those ripple effects. So yeah, I think that's one reason, I suppose, that people would maybe view it skeptically. And I also think people don't have a great model of it. They don't know really have an idea of who's a wellness archetype, who's the well ideal,
Right.
And that's I think situational, and maybe differs based on the person. What it means for me to be well socially might be different in its specifics than what it means for you to be well socially, but it will involve other people, so there are some common features to it, which is one of the joys, I think, of wellness counseling, is figuring out what those things are.
That's a really interesting point, because I mean, one of the things that I try to be sensitive to in my world of yoga and all of that is the male experience. And I actually had sat down and talked to a handful of my male students of all sizes, ages, backgrounds, and so forth. And the idea of having a wellness example, for example, one of my students was talking about his father not expressing any emotions, even when hitting his son with a hammer. That's not manly to cry or express anything other than maybe swear words or whatever, and that's just a productive exhale, really.
Yeah, it's really common. That's my area of research right now, is men's issues and masculinity studies, and looking at the way that men are socialized to think, feel, behave.
Yeah.
And there are different themes, that touch on those things, but the result of that, I think, can be seen in, to go back to even the suicide statistics. In 2016, 7 out of 10 completed suicides were not only men, but were white men. So men are much more likely, about 4 times as likely, to complete suicide. Women are much more likely to attempt, but because of lethality of means, among other variables, men are 4 times as likely to die by suicide. And what does the research say? I think most men today in America have, is it one?
Yeah,
one friend,
we're talking about wellness and prevention. First of all, men don't come in for care.
Right.
Women are more likely.
Because it's weak, right?
Yes.
It's seen as weak.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Because of the stigma around it. And but anyway, in terms of prevention, a lot of men are very socially isolated. And
is that by choice or by the way that you're raised, or what is that?
Yes, both.
Oh, yeah.
Because most men today, other than their partner, would say that they have one or no people that they would talk to about about emotions, about how they feel or how things are going, or an intimate friend. And
are you distinguishing that from, if I were to ask a man, how many friends do you have versus how many people do you talk to your emotions about?
Right. And when men do interact with each other, it's usually around a structured activity. Like they may be on a softball team or something like that, right? Or a club of some kind where we're all going to get together. We know what the script is.
Yeah.
We're going to do this thing, and then we don't have to talk about anything that's taboo to talk about.
Pretty safe.
Because we know.
We just talk about Star Wars.
Yeah,
this thing,
we'll talk
and that's
about we'll just talk about whatever, and that's that. And so it's really so men, because they are more socially isolated than women. Women are so much better at social networking, social communication, social everything.
Which is funny because I feel completely socially awkward and anxious every time I try to communicate with people. And a lot of women say that too.
Yeah, but you're good at it, so you must have taught yourself how to do it. Make yourself do
Practice,
it.
yeah, sure.
Just like I think I should write apology notes to my students who I had the first 3 years or 4 years at OSU, because I didn't know how to be a professor, really.
Yeah, right.
So that takes a while to learn.
Yeah.
So so men are at high risk, and even the way we do therapy is uncomfortable for men. like sitting in a room across from a counselor talk about your stuff. That's, we ought to be doing more basketball therapy, or, go out and shoot hoops and talk, or
You just be like, hey,
Yeah.
Bob, how you doing?
go for a walk or do something.
Activity based.
Yeah,
I
because
see.
this whole, pour your guts out to somebody thing is not
Yeah.
something that men do very easily, especially to somebody that they just met, or somebody,
Sure.
yeah.
And they're paying too. This power differential and
Oh.
all sorts of things. So,
Interesting.
yeah.
Yeah, so it's complicated, but men's,
I didn't realize men were so complicated. I thought you guys were so easy.
no, that's
Oh.
a myth.
Yeah.
Yeah, men and women men's and women's brains are essentially the same. There's slight differences, but men are enculturated. Men are trained differently than women, and I think that this plays out over the lifespan. And this is why I think, because of stress and whatever, I mean, women outlive men, and this is why men die,
Yeah.
because a loss of a spouse is a very traumatic thing for a male. It's less traumatic for a female. Females tend to do much better after losing a long-term partner than men do, because women have alternate ways and other social contacts and other ways of coping, whereas when the man loses his long-term partner, he's really isolated. He really is isolated. And so I don't know how we got on this riff, but the idea of wellness is that I think you can use people's strengths in different areas and leverage them. In counseling, I think what I try to do is use people's strengths to work on other areas. Like if you have a person who's very intellectual and reads a lot and learns things, likes to learn things and whatever, then have them learn something new about a sport. Have them learn something new about fitness. Have them go to a yoga class for the first time. Have them do something new, but it's going to be learn all about it, not just, try to leverage their strengths and how can that play out to help them in other areas of their life maybe they're not as strong. And because the idea is wellness is never like something you're done with.
Yeah.
It's a lifetime, constant striving for
Because it changes.
Yes, constant striving for optimal performance, right? Optimal health. And so, yes, over the lifespan, developmentally, the goals can change quite a bit. And, I think of the undergrads, they're interested in identity and intimacy. They're figuring out who they are, and they're figuring out who they want to be with.
Yeah.
And as you get to more middle-aged people, they're more concerned with productivity and being generative. Like, what do I do that matters? How does my life matter? What do I do that creates something meaningful? And then oftentimes as people age, they become interested in sort of their legacy and what they're going to leave behind, and more interested in spirituality and things like that. They kind of do a life review and say, what have I done in my life? Am I okay with that? Am I not okay with that? What can I still do to make something different? A lot of people, especially since people live longer today, you're having many more people do second careers and different things. So that, I'm thinking of one really great friend of mine who's an awesome counselor in Columbus. And he was a engineer and has probably 20 patents to his name in electronics and whatever. But he mostly worked on military projects. So when he retired from that, he said, holy moly, my life, I've just kind of worked for the military and designed these things for the battlefield and whatever. I don't want that to be all my legacy. So in his second career, he became a counselor, and he is really invested in meditation. He's really invested in a lot of kinds of things, and kind of did a 180 on his life.
At what age?
Let's see. He was in his late 50s. Yeah.
So it's never too late.
It's never too late to make a change. No. That's every day you're alive and the sun comes up, you've got another chance to change life. To change what you do. So, actually, I think you get a chance every time someone asks you what kind of salad dressing you want on your salad.
Yeah.
Because for me, I have a little weight issue.
Yeah.
And I'm down 25 pounds, by the way.
Good for you.
But it is making those little choices.
What's your salad dressing
1,000 choices a day.
What's your salad dressing choice?
Oh, I've gone to just putting a little lemon on my salad. I'm
right.
squeezing a little lemon on there, or a low fat, like balsamic kind of thing. But I used to like, lard. Well, I was just in Wisconsin and for a week, and being healthy in Wisconsin is hard because of cheese and dairy, and when you get a glass of milk in Wisconsin, it's like cream. It's like unbelievable.
Yeah.
And you go eat dinner, and there's like, well, that comes with fried cheese curds, so would you like some cheese on your cheese, stuff like, what?
My head says yes.
Yeah. What are you bringing to the party? Oh, we'll bring a cheese ball, It's like, oh my God. So, no, it's hard to be healthy because they're not big on fresh vegetables and fruit and stuff. It's more sort of a meat and potatoes and cheese lifestyle.
Yeah.
And beer.
Yeah.
Yeah, lots of beer.
Yeah.
So it really hit home with me, trying to eat healthier, and it was harder. It was harder there than it is here in Columbus. In Columbus, we have some wonderful alternatives that you can, if you seek them out, you can have them. So,
what are your wellness goals?
My wellness goals?
What's your wellness lifestyle plan?
My wellness lifestyle plan is very simple. It is, I get plenty of intellectual stimulation. That's not my area of weakness. But one of my goals is to move every day. And I notice I didn't say exercise, because once you say exercise to me, I go, blah.
Yeah.
That's not, I don't want to go to the gym.
Yeah.
I don't like that. I will if I can't do other things. But in the summer particularly, I'm out in my garden for 2 hours or more every day. And I have a nice garden in the backyard. I have about 100 different species of perennials. And I walk. I'm trying to walk 4 or 5 miles a day. I have a wonderful dog, Bart, Bart, you're getting a plug. He's part greyhound and part border collie. So he needs a lot of physical activity.
It's an interesting dog combo.
Yeah, it's really a bad dog combo.
Okay.
Because he's smart and fast.
I see. Oh, okay.
And so he requires a lot of care and parenting, and you've got to give him new toys and change things, and he tries to herd the cats and do things like that. The ultimate dog is like, I had a basset hound.
Oh,
And she was sort of dumb and slow, and a much easier dog to lie on the couch with and hang out with. Whereas Bart is like, if you're laying on the couch, he's like, let's go. What are you doing?
He's like your coach. He's your wellness coach, right?
Absolutely. He's like, let's go. Play ball, play ball, play ball, play ball.
Yeah. You want to move, let's do it.
Dad, I have an idea. You want to play ball? How about now?
I have a new idea. Ball.
Yeah. You want to play ball now? No. Do you want to play ball now? How about now? So unless I walk him and move, So move every day. I think whatever your thing is, Tai Chi, yoga, walking, swimming, my wife goes and does step aerobics in a swimming pool, and that's low impact and wonderful. And she walks, and walk up the stairs instead of, we all know what we're supposed to do is doing it, and try to eat well. For me, it's avoid sugar.
Yeah.
Sugar and fat. Those are the two killers. I had at one time, I think, the highest triglycerides in OSU history. Yeah.
Wow.
They were off the...
That's a fantastic distinction for you.
Yeah,
Nice
I
job.
was not good. And because I was eating like a 13 or 14-year-old boy
I see.
and ordering chocolate milk and stuff, So stopping all the crap, eating all the crap, and trying to eat better. Move, eat better, and I think one of my goals is to engage with people in a very genuine way. Like, I don't pull any punches. I'm over it.
Yeah.
First, I have a job that I can't be fired from, which is nice. I'm a tenured professor, so that's nice.
Sweet deal.
So that allows you to say things that you can tell your boss, I'm not going to do that. It's nice.
Yeah.
And I'm at a point now. I've had a lot of tragedy in my life. I lost my dad. I lost my brother. Other bad things have happened, and so I've learned that every day matters, and you don't always have people. So to try and appreciate and be grateful and enjoy things, because my natural tendency is to be glasses half empty kind of guy.
Oh, are you? Okay.
Yeah, I was not born a positive person.
I see.
My father was a New York City police lieutenant, and
I see.
and I actually used to hang out as a kid in the 43rd precinct in the Bronx, in the station house.
From the outside, that sounds really cool, but probably
Not when they're dragging in all the felons and
right.
assault people, rapists,
Right.
and assorted other strange people.
Yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, So my dad was not what I would call a optimist about the human condition. So I had to learn how to be positive about things, and that's a real goal for me. Cognitively, to always try to look on the bright side of things.
So positive thoughts do matter.
Absolutely. You have many more thoughts during a day than you do a behavior, right? So you're having thousands of thoughts a day. And if you indoctrinate yourself with negative stuff, negative thoughts, self-depreciating thoughts, or negative thoughts about the world or others, you're going to affect your body chemistry, you're going to affect your nervous system. You're going to literally change your way your brain works, and neurologically, and so in relation to wellness, optimists live longer than pessimists. So we know that. So try to be optimistic. That's a wellness plan of my wellness goal. And grateful.
Yeah.
I'm so freaking spoiled. I'm so spoiled I stink. And I was just in China for 15 days. And China is an amazing country. And in the last 30 years, they've come from an agrarian society to an industrial society. And it's an incredible place. But the average size of an apartment is 540 square feet.
It's a little
Yeah,
for us.
for a family. Yeah.
Yeah.
So also, when you look at people's diet, you look at their work life, you look at, needless to say, the government that they live under, which we won't make comments
Sure.
now about that. But, you visit, I've been in 40 countries, so knowing that I've got it so damn good.
Yeah.
We really do on lots of levels. You got to remind yourself of that.
Yeah.
And appreciate that. And be thankful every day for some, of the little stuff that matters. So, so move, eat, and think positively. And I guess the last one is spirituality. And try to have a spiritual appreciation for the universe and how amazing it is and how incredible this planet and nature is. And okay, I met you today. Do you know what a privilege that is?
Well, I think I'm amazing, but
Yeah, I mean, no, think about it though.
Yeah.
How many people have lived before us?
a lot.
A lot,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Millions and billions and trillions, right?
Yeah.
And how many people live in the world today?
I don't even know. It's a big number.
Yeah, it's a big number. It's like what, 7 billion?
Yeah.
Okay, 7 billion. 4 billion are Chinese, by the way. But 1.6 billion Chinese, sorry. And, nobody really knows. But the idea is 1.6 billion Chinese. And so of all the people that lived in the past and all the people that live today,
Yeah.
and how many people are going to live in the future? A lot
Yeah.
more, right?
Yeah.
You're the only you there's ever going to be.
Yeah. They broke the mold, really.
Yeah. Even
a lot of it.
if you had a twin, right, that you were genetically identical to, twins are not the same people. They have
true.
very different personalities often.
Yeah.
And so what a pleasure. What an amazing thing that I get to know someone. You're unique and special.
Yeah. It's a really
Really?
cool way of putting it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, some people are more unique and special than others, but I'm not a saint. But the idea is so cool if you really think about it. That we coincide at the same time,
Yeah.
And
All the things that had to happen in order to
Yeah.
even bring the three of us together at the
it's
table.
so unbelievably amazing.
Yeah.
And to have an appreciation for life and that, not to develop spirituality for me is to try to have some appreciation or awareness of the enormity of it all, the unbelievable nature of it. I mean, the existence in and of itself is stunningly a beautiful thing.
Yeah. Well said.
Yeah.
Tyler, what are your wellness goals or your lifestyle?
What is my wellness goal? Well, it's changed a little bit. We have a 9-month-old at home.
Oh, wow. Congratulations.
Thank you. So sleep is right up there.
Sleep is crucial.
Now getting back to practical world.
Yeah, right. Yeah. No, I think that I'm probably never affected more, negatively than when I'm hungry or when I'm tired. It's kind of like a toddler, So
Oh, yeah.
if something's going on with me, people who know me really well say, "Are you hungry, Tyler, or are you tired?" So I could carry around a bag of Cheerios. That might be part of my wellness plan. But eating well, I get migraines from eating like crap. So my wife and I try to eat really healthy and clean, as they say now. Exercise. I don't mind exercise. I was in the Army for 4 years, so they kind of beat that into us.
Yeah.
And I think got an opportunity to feel the results and consequences of a pretty regimented exercise routine. And I think the awareness of that has helped me to maintain it a little bit. So in the summer, it looks like walking or biking or something like that. In the winter, it looks like swimming. So sleep, diet, exercise, spirituality would be one as well. Creative. creativity is a big itch for me that I get to scratch by like woodworking, among other things.
Nice.
So I don't have a lot of margin right now, but if my doctoral advisor were to hear this, maybe he could let me have some more time off of articles or something. I could woodwork it.
Must write too, Di.
Yeah. So I have to squeeze that in sometimes,
Right.
But
If you were really working hard, we'd come in and find you slumped over at your desk.
that's the standard. That's it.
Yeah.
So and I think I have a real appreciation for the things that come from mindfulness, and I think my spirituality is integrated in that quite well. Just by your listeners could do this thought experiment right now of just think about the last thought you had, or just let your mind go blank for 2 minutes, and it'll typically go backward or to go forward. It rarely goes to the present moment.
Yeah.
And that's where, like Dr. Paul mentioned, that's where a lot of appreciation comes in, to say, wow, we get to have this conversation, or on Wednesday night we get to go to a ball game and maybe catch a ball, or not get hit with one, or something like that.
Right.
There's 1,000 things. I think of those experiences as just sponges, and mindfulness for me is a way to just wring out everything that opportunity has for us or for me. So those are biggies. And I do get plenty of intellectual stimulation, I think, too. maybe too much right now. But those are some of mine. Yeah.
Wonderful. Was there anything else you would like to talk about? I've pulled from you everything that I would like to pull from you.
Well,
been a wonderful
the only
conversation.
other thing I would mention is that we train counselors to be wellness counselors, and we do these intensive weekends, and they're awesomely fun.
Yeah.
And I really like doing them. And counselors don't get enough wellness in their graduate training, so I try to augment that. And it's 23 CEUs.
Oh, wow.
So we meet for 3 days, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, half a day on Sunday, and we cover all kinds of things about counseling and wellness and stuff. And there's now in Ohio 60-ish recognized people who have a state-recognized certification as a wellness counselor. So I'm proud of that, because I think it's great I get to influence my students and have an impact, but it's really nice to be able to share this with other professional colleagues, and that have an interest, and run those programs, run those weekends, because I always feel good after I do one of those, because I feel like I'm spreading the wellness message.
Yeah.
Like you're sharing the yoga message. I'm sharing the wellness message. So.
And is this for just OSU people, or is it for anybody?
Oh, it's anybody in the state, a licensed counselor or social worker or somebody. Yeah.
How can they know about that? How can they find it?
That's a really good question. It's the Wellness Learning Institute.
Okay.
If they go and Google that, they will find the webpage.
Nice.
And they can click on Intensive Weekend, and they will find all the information about the curriculum and all that stuff. So
That's awesome.
it does count as CEUs towards their license renewal. So
23. That's a good amount.
yes,
That's nice.
we have to do 30 every 2 years.
Yeah.
Yeah,
There you go.
Yeah, so
Good amount there.
awesome.
Great.
Thank you so much.
Well, thank you so much. I really enjoyed this.
Thank you.
It was a good conversation.
You're swell. I like you.
I try to be. Thank you, everyone, for listening. I hope you enjoyed this as much as I did. We really touched on topics I didn't even expect to bring up, to be very honest. If you have any comments or questions, please leave them below. I hope you do seek out Dr. Granello. Look for his books. Look for if you're looking to get certified or to increase your knowledge about wellness, seek him out. I really hope to work with him in the future, because this truly aligns with everything that I'm interested in. If you enjoyed this, please like or subscribe, and consider becoming a supporter on Patreon so that we can continue doing this. I do want to always do these for free, but it certainly helps to get financial support in order to keep doing this. I'd like to keep doing more and more podcasts and videos and so forth, and just help bringing more information about wellness and yoga and all these things to all of you. Thank you so much to my current Patreon supporters, Chris, Nancy, Lauren, and Athne. The numbers are growing every week, so I truly appreciate it. Have a wonderful week. Be well. Talk to you next time.